On the 21st of July 1403, the fields near Shrewsbury became the stage for one of the bloodiest battles of medieval England. The Battle of Shrewsbury would decide the fate of the young King Henry IV and the future of England. King Henry IV, who had seized the crown from Richard II in 1399, faced a serious rebellion led by one of England's most powerful families, the Percys. Henry Hotspur Percy, once a trusted ally, now raised arms against the very monarch he had helped to power. When the war ended, lands in and around Cumberland promised to the Percys were instead given to a rival. The promised money never materialized, and so the Percys revolted. Percy and Thomas Percy, 1st Earl of Worcester, publicly renounced their allegiance to King Henry IV. Percy raised a group initially of about 200 retainers in early July 1403 and started the long march south to meet his uncle, Thomas Percy. Some nobles joined him, such as Lord Bardolph, but he recruited most of his army in Cheshire, an area hostile to Henry IV, which provided many experienced soldiers, notably its Cheshire archers, some of whom had served as Richard II's bodyguard. All in all, Percy gathered around 10,000 men and marched towards Shrewsbury. King Henry IV only became aware of the Percy forces on the 12th of July, receiving the news at Burton-on-Trent. He had already gathered an army of some 14,000 men, comprising a mix of heavily armored knights, mounted troops, infantry and archers. He had gathered this army to fight against the Scots, but he instantly altered his plans and decided to meet the immediate threat posed by the Percys. He changed direction and marched west towards Shrewsbury with his army. Both forces arrived in the Shrewsbury area on the 20th of July and set up camp to the north and south of the River Severn. The next day, King Henry's forces crossed the Severn at Uffington, about a mile to the east of Shrewsbury, to cut off Percy's line of retreat to Chester. A battle was now inevitable. I would like to take this pause to introduce you to today's sponsor, Aura. As you might have heard, there have been some pretty major data leaks this year, and over 1 billion user records have been compromised. With so many leaks happening, it's tough to keep track and protect yourself from potential credit fraud and identity theft. That's exactly where Aura steps in. Aura provides non-stop monitoring of your data and alerts you instantly if any of your personal info gets compromised. Plus, it helps you tackle any fraud threats head-on. Their apps can also encrypt your Wi-Fi connection and shield your devices from malware. Aura will also continuously monitor the dark web and alert me if my information is exposed. The Aura app also has a VPN with over 100 virtual locations. You can go to my link in the description to try 14 days for free. The Percys were soon made aware of Henry's plan to cut them off, so they gathered their forces and formed battle lines. The knights wore steel plate armor with visored helmets, despite the day's heat. The knights carried swords, shields, various forms of mace or clubs and daggers. English archers carried a powerful bow. For hand-to-hand combat, archers carried swords, daggers, and hatchets. King Henry IV raised his sword, and on the 21st of July, in the sweltering summer heat, the battle commenced. The battle opened with a massive archery barrage. Both sides unleashed a torrent of arrows, resulting in heavy casualties early on. Thousands of men fell, struck by the brutal power of the arrows, often before they could even engage in hand-to-hand combat. The field erupted into chaos. The clash of steel rang out as swords and axes met shields and armor. Prince Henry was also present, fighting for his father, King Henry IV. He charged with his bodyguard into the fighting. The sky was said to have darkened with the sheer volume of arrows that flew between the two sides. Percy's Cheshire bowmen proved generally superior, and Prince Henry was hit in the face with an arrow during the fighting, sustaining a terrible wound. Hotspur showed immense courage and led his troops in a fierce charge against the king's forces. His goal was clear: to reach Henry IV and kill him, thus decisively ending the conflict. The king's standard was captured at one point, and confusion spread through the royal ranks as rumors of Henry's death circulated. Yet, in the chaos, the king remained alive, fighting alongside his men, his presence bolstering their resolve. Hotspur's charge, though bold, would ultimately prove fatal. In the midst of the fray, an arrow struck him in the face, killing him instantly. His death marked the turning point of the battle. With Hotspur dead, the rebels' morale crumbled. The remaining rebel forces either surrendered or fled, leaving King Henry IV with a decisive, if costly, victory. The aftermath of the Battle of Shrewsbury was grim. Thousands of men had been killed, including many prominent nobles and knights. King Henry IV had secured his throne, but at a steep cost. The rebellion, though quelled, had exposed the vulnerabilities of his reign and the deep divisions within the kingdom. While Hotspur's death had eliminated one of his key opponents, tensions with the Percy family and other discontented nobles would continue to simmer in the years to come.